Welcome to Washington America Show with international multimedia journalist, multidimensional, multifaceted artist and director of Human Rights Justice Council USA, Dr. Kashif Sohail.
A cache is a small and very fast temporary storage memory. It is designed to speed up the transfer of data and instructions. It is located inside or close to the CPU chip. It is faster than RAM, and the data or instructions that are most recently or most frequently used by CPU are stored in the cache. The CPU uses cache memory to store instructions that are repeatedly required to run programs, improving overall system speed. It helps CPU to access frequently or recently accessed data.
Cache memory is important because it improves the efficiency of data retrieval. It stores program instructions and data that are used repeatedly in the operation of programs or information that the CPU is likely to need next. Cache memory is an extremely fast memory type that acts as a buffer between RAM and the CPU. Cache memory is used to reduce the average time to access data from the main memory. The cache is a smaller and faster memory which stores copies of the data from frequently used main memory locations. Cache files are temporary files that are automatically created during usage of your device, like when you browse the internet, use apps, sync your mail, etc. You can clear your cache memory at any time. This will not cause any harm to your computer or phone, rather it will free your internal and external memory. Cached data save on loading time, it occupies space in your device though. For this reason, it's not a bad idea to clear your cache every so often, whether in your computer, your Android phone or iPhone.
The cached data used by your combined Android apps can easily take up more than a gigabyte of storage space. These caches of data are essentially just junk files, and they can be safely deleted to free up storage space. Tap the Clear Cache button to take out the trash. If you want to wipe the cache, there is no harm done. Your apps will dutifully rebuild their caches quickly, and things will be humming along faster than ever in no time at all. But now you will realize that clearing cache doesn't usually improve performance.
While the cache can be cleared with little risk to app settings, preferences, and saved states, clearing the app data will delete or remove these entirely. Clearing data reset an app to its default state. It makes your app act like when you first downloaded and installed it. Cached data is information from a website or app that is stored on your device to make the browsing process faster. For this reason, it's not a bad idea to clear your cache every so often. It is a good idea to clear your browser cache because it prevents you from using old forms.
If you do not make many web page alterations or want to see web alterations in real time, you might be better off clearing your cache once a month or bi-monthly. When you use a browser, like Chrome, it saves some information from websites in its cache and cookies. Clearing them fixes certain problems, like loading or formatting issues on sites. When you use a browser, like Chrome, it saves some information from websites in its cache and cookies. Clearing them fixes certain problems, like loading or formatting issues on sites. In modern computers, the cache memory is stored between the processor and DRAM. This is called Level 2 cache. Level 1 cache is an internal memory cache that is stored directly on the processor.
Cached data is information that comes from a website or an app that is stored on your computer, smartphone, and tablet, etc. This data is stored on your machine, so that the next time you go to use it, it'll already be available. Your personal information won't be deleted if you delete the cache. Cached data is information that comes from a website or an app that is stored on your computer, smartphone, and tablet. Only very specialized software can turn off the cache and allow the CPU to work without the cache. The computer cannot run without the cache.
Cache memory is very useful because it saves the computer user a lot of time in opening common data and giving common commands. Cache memory is very convenient because opening data in the cache is dramatically faster than opening data on the main hard disk. Cache memory is faster than the main memory. It consumes less access time as compared to the main memory. It stores the program that can be executed within a short period of time.
Cache memory stores data for temporary use. It stores the program that can be executed within a short period of time. It stores data for temporary use. Cache memory is a random access memory (RAM) that a computer microprocessor can access more quickly than it can access regular RAM. As the microprocessor processes data, it looks first in the cache memory, and if it finds the data from a previous reading of data, it does not have to do the more time-consuming reading of data from larger memory. Cache memory is sometimes described in levels of closeness and accessibility to the microprocessor.
An L1 cache is on the same chip as the microprocessor. L2 is usually a separate static RAM, SRAM, chip. The main RAM is usually a dynamic RAM, DRAM, chip. In addition to the cache memory, one can think of RAM itself as a cache of memory for hard disk storage, since all of RAM's contents come from the hard disk initially when you turn your computer on and load the operating, and later as you start new applications and access new data. RAM can also contain a special area called a disk cache that contains the data most recently read in from the hard disk.
Cache memory is a component that improves performance by transparently storing data such that future requests for that data can be served faster. Cache memory is usually built inside a CPU or board chip to facilitate the frequently used commands. Other than that, the most frequently used code or data in the memory is also kept in the cache, but it is invisible to software. When the program accesses this code or data, it comes from a high-speed cache rather than from slower main memory. The data that is stored within a cache might be values that have been computed earlier or duplicates of original values that are stored elsewhere.
The cache memory is the volatile computer memory which is very nearest to the CPU, so also called CPU memory. All the recent instructions are stored into the cache memory. It is the fastest memory that provides high-speed data access to a computer microprocessor. Cache meaning is that it is used for storing the input which is given by the user and which is necessary for the computer microprocessor to perform a task. But the capacity of the cache memory is too low in comparison to memory, random access memory, RAM, and hard disk.
The cache memory lies in the path between the processor and the memory. It has lesser access time than memory and is faster than the main memory. Cache memory has an access time of 100 ns, while the main memory may have an access time of 700 ns. The cache memory is very expensive and hence is limited in capacity. Earlier cache memories were available separately, but the microprocessors contain the cache memory on the chip itself. The need for the cache memory is due to the mismatch between the speeds of the main memory and the CPU. The CPU clock is very fast, whereas the main memory access time is comparatively slower. No matter how fast the processor is, the processing speed depends more on the speed of the main memory.
The cache memory stores temporary data that the CPU may frequently require for manipulation. The cache memory works according to various algorithms, which decide what information it has to store. These algorithms work out the probability to decide which data would be most frequently needed. It acts as a high-speed buffer between CPU and main memory and is used to temporarily store very active data and action during processing. Since the cache memory is faster than main memory, the processing speed is increased by making the data and instructions needed in current processing available in the cache.
L1 cache, or primary cache, is extremely fast but relatively small and is usually embedded in the processor chip as CPU cache. Level 1 cache memory is usually built onto the microprocessor chip itself. L2 cache, or secondary cache, is often more capacious than L1. Level 2 cache memory is on a separate chip, possibly on an expansion card, that can be accessed more quickly than the larger main memory. A popular L2 cache memory size is 1024 kilobytes, 1 megabyte. Level 3, L3, cache is a specialized memory developed to improve the performance of L1 and L2. Level 3 cache, a memory bank built onto the motherboard or within the CPU module. The L3 cache feeds the L2 cache, and its memory is typically slower than the L2 memory, but faster than the main memory.
Please share this video, subscribe to our channel.